Hello everyone, GoldenNova here. The OCG Booster Pack Selection 10 released support for a ton of archetypes, including Laval, Galaxy, and Necroz. It also introduced a new archetype, the Sun Avalon, which had previously been an anime exclusive. But they also managed to release an archetype that's both legacy support and a new archetype. Holy Knight is a series of level 4 light fairies who all have effects that support level 7 light dragons, but specifically, this level 7 light dragon, Seiryu, and its retrain, Radiant Seiryu. I have absolutely no clue where this idea came from, there's no lore to dig into, and that just makes it all the more fascinating. The closest thing I can think of is that it's some kind of Christmas-themed archetype. Selection 10 was released in early December of 2020 in the OCG, so it'd be about the right time. In this context, the theme's name evokes the song Silent Night, and one of the cards is even called Holy Night Nativity, another classic Christmas staple. Now, the peace and love of the holidays might be a little undercut by the fact that Seiryu is shown billowing gouts of flames at their opponent, but a number of their cards gain benefits if your opponent is playing a dark monster or have protection from said monsters, so it could be seen as your traditional good conquers evil type story that's pretty prevalent in more fantasy-themed Christmas tales. But I've rocked around this Christmas tree long enough. It's time to check which angels have been nice, determine how we're going to strike down our naughty opponents, and bring it all to town with the help of some dragon friends. It's time to get tucked in for this Holy Night. But first, please remember to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my content so far. We're on the road to 5,000 subs and you can help make it happen. I've got a very special explained video I want to do to celebrate that particular milestone, but I'll save the details for when we get to 3,000. We've also got a Discord where we've figured out how to make Xyz tuner monsters, and a Twitter where you can stay up to date on channel news and my bad takes. Thank you for your patience, and now, back to the video. Alright, let's start with our dragons, then work backwards from there. Seiryu is a level 7 light dragon with 2500 attack and 2300 defense. They're a mystical dragon that burns away the unworthy with mystic flames, so if you wanted to drive a Christmas theme, you could interpret this as some kind of anti-naughty breath weapon, but I've got a sneaking suspicion that's not the original intent. Though we're not going to be using them, so it's kind of a moot point. The real star of the show is Radiant Seiryu, who has all the same stats as their predecessor. If they're normal or special summoned from the hand, you can target any card on the field and destroy it. They also can't be destroyed by battle or the effect of a dark monster. Lastly, once per turn, when attacking a monster at the beginning of the damage step, you can have Radiant banish what they attack until the end phase, then they get an additional attack. While not overwhelmingly powerful, this is actually a pretty cool card. Its protection from dark monsters can be seen as a reference to the original flavor text, and we've seen how effective removing a card from the field on summon can be. The banishing effect can also help clear the way for game, sidestepping a single monster that you couldn't otherwise get over, then swinging in with everything directly. It's the kind of comeback mechanic I love seeing on cards, though naturally it isn't just for turning the tables. Sometimes you've already got your opponent dead to lights. Alright, time for the supporting cast. All the Holy Knights are level 4 light fairy monsters, and while this part isn't really relevant, their battle stats all add up to 2500, so that's pretty neat. Holy Knight Astal has 500 attack and 2000 defense, and as a quick effect, you can target a light monster you control, and on resolution, tribute the target, then special summon a level 7 light dragon from your hand. You can also banish them from the grave to grant a level 7 light dragon you control 1000 attack until the end of your opponent's turn. Astal is setting up a theme here. Summoning Radiant Seiryu from your hand at quick effect speed is something you'll be seeing a lot of from now on, and that can get out of hand pretty quickly. See, while Radiant's battle trigger is a soft once per turn, none of their effects are hard once per turns, so as long as you keep triggering the activation requirements, you'll keep getting to pop cards. And the 1000 attack bonus can be pretty helpful in closing out games, or getting rid of bigger monsters you couldn't otherwise handle. They really are the wind beneath our wings. Holy Knight Rael has 1800 attack and 700 defense, and when they're normal summoned, you can add any Holy Knight spell or trap from your deck to your hand. You can also banish them from your grave to special summon any Holy Knight from your grave. Rael is our designated Stratos, especially since one of our spells searches monsters, so they give you access to your entire theme. And the ability to resummon Holy Knights to the field, especially Astal so you can cheat out Radiant, is invaluable, especially if you're light on extenders. Holy Knight CL has 1700 attack and 800 defense, and if they're in your hand, you can return a Holy Knight or level 7 light dragon from your field to your hand to special summon them. Also, if you control no monsters, you can banish CL from your grave to special summon a level 7 light dragon from your hand. This monster acts as a pretty good proxy to reset Holy Knights. You can put Rail back into your hand so you can normal summon them again, or return Radiant so you can set it up for another special summon activation. Combined with their ability to summon that same Radiant, and you can tell that CL is pretty good at giving a helping hand. Our last Holy Knight is Flamel, who has 1500 attack and 1000 defense. When your opponent declares an attack, you can send them from your hand or field to the grave to special summon a level 7 light dragon from your hand. Also, as a quick effect, you can banish Flamel from your grave to add a level 7 light dragon from your grave or field to the hand, but you can only use one effective Flamel a turn and only once per turn. So this one acts kind of like a hand trap, threatening to drop Radiant Seiryu in the battle phase to pop a card. And just like CL, they have the ability to put Radiant back into your hand to use again. They're a nice little bow on top of our other nifty angels. Now it's time for our spell and trap support. Holy Knight Bellfire is a normal spell that lets you add any Holy Knight monster or a level 7 light dragon from your deck to your hand. Then, if your opponent controls a dark monster and you control no monsters, you can then special summon any light dragon from your hand. So despite Flamel being in the art, Bellfire makes a bit of a loop with Rail, as they can search each other. And I do like that while the bonus effect is nice, it's not necessary to make this a good card, it's just a really solid search. It's definitely got me all fired up. Holy Knight Nativity is a continuous spell, and during your main phase, you can reveal a light fairy in your hand to add a level 7 light dragon from your deck to your hand, then put the revealed card on the bottom of your deck. Also, if your opponent activates a card or effect, you can special summon a level 7 light dragon from your hand, though you can only use one effect per turn and only once per turn. This is fine though, as you'll probably just use the first effect on your turn to set up, and the second on your opponent's to threaten their moves. It gives Radiant a kind of true Draco feel, where if your opponent does, well, anything, you can just punish them for it at no cost. But now this is all making me think about what the heck a worm is supposed to be compared to a dragon, especially if we have so many humanoid versions of both, and it's making my head spin, so I'm just gonna move on. Holy Knight Sky is a field spell that grants you an additional normal summon of a Holy Knight or level 7 light dragon monster. It also nets you a draw once per turn when a face-up level 7 light dragon monster or monsters are returned to your hand, rewarding you even further for making a loop of summoning Radiant from your hand, putting it back, then summoning it again. Also, I just like the art here. No jokes, I just find large swaths of space very enchanting. Might have to update my video background for this. Holy Knight Blast is a normal trap that has Radiant absolutely charbroiling something, and dang do those flames look pretty. It's basically an Omni-Negate that you can chain to an opponent's card or effect activation and destroy it, and the cost is returning a level 7 light dragon from your field to your hand. So technically not a minus, and it does set you up for more Radiant summons, which is pretty in line for the rest of the theme. My biggest gripe here is that it's not a counter trap for some reason. While returning the dragon to hand can't be interrupted because it's sent back for cost, it still gives your opponent the ability to respond with something like Forbidden Droplets to use the card as fodder, since it's going to be blown up anyway. But despite all that, I think this card's a blast. Our last card is Holy Knight Advent, a continuous trap with an effect that you can activate during either player's main phase once per turn. You can choose either one of two modes. You can target a level 7 light dragon monster you control and return it to the hand, or special summon one from your hand. Advent is important for smoothing out the disconnects in your strategy. While everything works perfectly fine on paper, sometimes you won't have a Radiant on board for Blast, or it'll be on board when you want it in your hand for Flamel's battle trick. This also kind of ties into the Christmas theming too, mostly because of Advent calendars. And that's pretty appropriate, because once this card's in the mix, your opponent's days are numbered. Okay, so that's all the cards. What do we do with them? Well, they're actually pretty one note. There aren't really any effects that don't facilitate or enhance the summon, bouncing, and resummoning of Radiant Seiryu. So if you're playing a pure build, you just want cards that'll help with that as much as possible, while also trying to splash in any level 7 light dragons that can help. Speaking of which, what are our options in that category? Well, using the Yu-Gi-Oh card database, we currently have 14 monsters that fit those descriptors, and that goes up to 16 if we include Radiant Seiryu and the new Lightning Overdrive edition, Bahartia, Skypiercer of Light. I'm going to shave off the extra deck ones, since they can't be in your hands so a lot of support wouldn't benefit them, as well as any that have restrictions on their special summons. That brings us down to 8. Bahartia is a pretty interesting hand trap. Despite being level 7, you can tribute summon them using one effect monster, and if your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, except by drawing, during their main phase, very important, you can then tribute summon them. But their actually useful effect triggers anytime they are normal or special summons, so maybe in Holy Knight you just use your other nifty effects to trigger that instead. When you do, you banish cards from the top of your opponent's deck face down, equal to the number of cards they have in their hand, then they shuffle that hand into the deck, and if they do, they add those banished face down cards to their hand. It's essentially a way to attack your opponent's hand to guarantee they don't keep what they searched, which is a cool effect, but did they have to make its own summon so complicated? Keep it in mind, but don't get too attached. The rest don't really synergize well. Hyozanryu is just another normal dragon, Arcbrave is really cool in Chaos Dragons, but Radiant only gets their effect when special summoned from the hand, so they won't benefit from being revived from the grave. But Return of the Dragon Lords is a nice way to get back any Radiants that bite the dust, and protect them while you perform what I am tentatively calling the Scale Shuffle. Hieratic Dragon of Asar really only works with Hieratics, Photon Wyvern doesn't get any of its effects when special summoned, and you can play Odd-Eye Saber Dragon, but the only thing you're going to get is effect-based monster destruction after you destroy another monster. The only other dragon that I feel has any kind of synergy, which is hilarious because it fits into the category of cards that I previously cut from consideration, is Saravis, the Ancient and Ascended. It's searchable by Bellflame, so it can provide targeting protection. You could potentially use Advanced Ritual Art to use the original Seiryu as material, and if you bounce it back to your hand to negate a special summon, you get to draw off of Holy Night Sky. Speaking of Bellflame, if you want to guarantee its effect will go off, you could run DD Guide. You normal summon it, give it to your opponent, and now you have an empty field and your opponent has a dark monster. So search for Radiant Seiryu, special summon it, then use its effect to destroy that DD Guide. It's just another one of those lessons that you learned from Jeff, our Mystic Mind mentor. We also have fairies in the theme, but we don't really have much relevant support for them. The only card I felt was feasible was Miraculous Descent, which can bring back your banished Holy Knights to use them again, but it's very slow and I think you're better off just using something like DDR in that case. But the silly card I want to see played in this deck? Relay Soul. It lets you special summon any monster from your hand, and you don't take any damage while it's face up on the field, but you do lose the duel if the summoned monster leaves the field. But it does trigger Radiant Seiryu to blow up a card on the field, so if you just need that little bit of push to win the game, it'll get you there. And funny rulings time, if you have another level 7 monster on board and you use the Relay Souled monster as material for an Xyz summon specifically, it's no longer a monster, but technically didn't leave the field, so the lose the duel trigger fades away, so it's kinda safe to use. All that being said, Holy Knight is an interesting theme, even if it isn't super powerful. Honestly though, I feel we haven't seen its full potential yet. Anytime an archetype's restrictions are based on broad descriptors like type and attribute, rather than an actual theme name, it leaves the door open for designers to release a new, otherwise completely unrelated card that ends up synergizing a little too well with it. I don't think I need to remind anyone how that went with Orchist. Thankfully though, until we get some kind of light retrain of Red Eye's Black Dragon, I think this holy archetype has a few too many holes in it to be that bothersome. But now, I want to hear what you all think. Do you agree that Holy Knight is pretty much a holiday gimmick, or am I going to find a bunch of coal in my stocking for my insolence? Let me know in the comments, and if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. And if you'd like to see a video with some dragons that have a bit more bite to them, make sure to check out my lore video where I go over the Draco Slayer and True Draco storyline. It's pretty cool if I do say so myself. Thank you all so very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.